you back. Do 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 do, take you back. Yeah, 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 yeah. Take you back. Do 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 do, take you back. Getting stronger.
If he dies, he dies.
What's your name? What's your name?
Agree! Ding, ding.
Henry Confidential here. We're in the war room right now, and I'm playing Pez. This is the very first new iteration of a 1v1 for the quote unquote specialty. You know, it's kind of like a Full Metal Random, but for debate. We've already done View Askew, Scream, and then we set up this Rocky that was supposed to be 4, but it was a kind of a crazy mess to set up. So it actually turned into, let's just separate the 4 into 2 1-on-1s. So me and Pez, obviously, as not a knock on Tato or Antonio, who are going to be the other match upcoming, but me and Pez are the stronger debaters based on records and stuff. So it made more sense for us to pair up against each other and let Tato go up against Antonio, who I don't even know if Antonio's ever debated, so gives him a chance to practice, and Tato's improving. So it's not about that. So with that said, yeah, we're going to talk about Rocky. It's my favorite franchise of all time. I'm obviously excited for this. It's one of those things where the prep isn't as hardcore because it shouldn't be, because this is my favorite franchise of all time. So there's a couple questions on there that are a little interesting in terms of the process of how we're going to go about it, but there's no stakes. This isn't a league, but it is competitive. So Pez, let's have fun.
So here I am again, another debate league, another familiar opponent, but this time it's a little different. I'm here to have a good time with my good buddy, Henry Confidential. Pez here, first time entering the war room, and yeah, talking about one of my favorite franchises as well, much like Henry, of Rocky, really getting into some fun, creative questions. Just here to have a good time and duke it out, so to speak. We'll see if we have as long running a franchise as Rocky has. It feels like Henry and I have been battling just as long as Rocky and Apollo have, but I'm here to have a good time. Let's get it going.
And welcome, everybody. Tato here. I'm your host for this evening. We got some excellent questions. Pez versus Henry. I also love this franchise. Recently rewatched Creed 3. Banger. Definitely solidified how much I enjoyed it. But yeah, should be a good match tonight. I'm excited to see how this goes. Alrighty. The first question in this match. We have, what is the best monologue / dialogue sequence? And whoever is going first, go ahead.
So I went with the original Rocky, basically the whole sequence where Mickey comes to Rocky's apartment to ask to manage him, and then Rocky kind of blows up on him as he's leaving down the staircase, basically that whole roughly 5-minute sequence. I like the sequence because it represents not only the character of Rocky as a whole, but it also parallels a lot of Sylvester Stallone's personal life and what he went through as a struggling actor and a struggling writer, and what he tried to do, to get the project done in the first place.
So I went with the beach scene in Rocky 3 between Rocky and Adrian because one of two reasons. One, this is one of the few times, especially within the 80s, that you actually see masculinity shown that's not toxic. And it also shows the dynamic, the heights of the relationship between Rocky and Adrian, because all up to this point in Rocky 1, Adrian was very shy and timid and didn't really have a personality. And then in Rocky 2, she was sick and she was out of the count. So it really gave her a chance to shine and gave Talia Shire a chance to show her chops.
So the great thing about mine is that, again, it parallels to real life. It parallels Rocky's struggle and his frustration of his character leading up to that point, and also the struggles of Stallone as an actor and him blowing up. And the great thing is that my scene progresses from a sense of hope with Mickey, bringing this kind of sort of charisma and this hope and this jovial elation and wanting to manage Rocky, to a sense of desperation as Rocky's rejecting him, to regret about everything that's happened in the past, to reconciliation with Rocky at the end.
Yeah, but the thing is, the relationship between Mickey and Rocky, it's good, you know, as terms of trainer and friend stuff. But with the one between Rocky and Adrian, it's literally a relationship. It's a marriage at that point, and they are still developing that, because if you show that there's their personalities, they are just so different in personality that it takes literally until the third one that on the screen it is as dynamic and as on fire as it gets, because it gets to the point where Rocky literally needs to finally admit that I'm afraid. And that could also be a parallel of Sylvester Stallone's real life, you know, personality of, you know, these different franchises and, you know, his failure, both, you know, bring it back to the history of what happened before the first Rocky.
Well, my scene also gives us a lot of history of Rocky and Mickey, of what stuff we haven't seen actually off screen in their last 10 years, because we've gotten the little bits of Mickey taking his locker away and the little thing about, you know, you fight bums, but we don't really know their overall history together. And we get that kind of in that blow up. And it's really the start of a relationship that will continue through your movie, through Rocky 3 up until his final death. And your movie, while it's a decent scene, it feels like Stallone's doing a little bit of overacting. He's kind of just going through his actual lines. Mine is a mix of acting and improvising again, feeling that frustration from his personal life.
Yeah, but the thing between you know, the Rocky and Mickey scene is at that point we don't really have anything about Mickey that we care about, so that we know about in terms of that we're attached to, you know, in terms of like, if you would have picked a dialogue between Rocky and Mickey and Mickey's deathbed, that's a more dynamic scene just specifically between those two characters. I picked the height of, you know, both the Rocky one between Rocky and Adrian. You know, you could argue 5 because, you know, we're even more developing these relationships, but with this relationship, it's literally just showcased just how Rocky needs Adrian by his side. And in the second one, you know, she literally has to give him permission, you know, on the deathbed, you know, when, you know, and then in the first one, you know, Adrian, you know, that's the first thing he says, you know, that's when he's looking for it going through the crowd. So it really showcased the heart of their relationship.
Well, right. But you're talking about a relationship that's already been established in 2 movies. Mine is making us care about that relationship in this scene. And we start to build on that relationship up to your movie. So I understand that you're saying like yours may have more impactful to you as the sort of culmination of a relationship. But mine is the beginning, getting us invested in this character that we've seen throughout the movie. But now we understand his backstory as well, Mickey's backstory, and talking about his fights with Rocky Marciano and the cufflinks and all that stuff, and the things that would progress throughout the series.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that just between them, once again, you don't really have anything leading up to that even really had that, you know, that frustration and all that built up stuff. You just have, it's kind of like a mystery. It's a lot of tell, don't show in that case. Whereas in the Rocky 3 scene, it's literally been building up to that point, and that is the volcanic experience time.
So we get a lot of this, what I'm talking about, the dialogue exploding through the physical actions we see throughout the movie, because we see Rocky's dumpy apartment. We see the kind of venues that he fights in throughout the movie. We see the interactions that he has and sort of street smarts. We see the dumpy jobs and getting paid $20 here, $20 there, and the struggles that he's had as this boxer, that he's been boxing for 10 years, but he's never gotten that opportunity. And knowing that you have that talent but unable to use it is what the frustration comes out in. And again, it feels so natural. It's one of the most naturalistic scenes that Stallone's ever had because of that pent-up frustration that he had with the studio even wanting to recast Rocky of his own script and not let him play his own character. There's a desperation to the whole thing. There again, the parallels to his real life, the fact that the body language of Stallone, his acting when Mickey is going over his accomplishments, and the fact that he never had a prime. You can see Rocky's dismissal and the way he walks around the apartment and the way he kind of swaggers and is completely dismissive of everything that Mickey does. And Mickey's, again, his side, his escalating desperation and his slow walk down the stairs is absolutely painful and emotional and traumatic.
But once again, everything that we got in Rocky 1, we don't have any care for Mickey. Honestly, even by the end of the movie, we don't even care about him as a character. That one scene, you know, it's one of those things that in Rocky 2 and Rocky 3, we've carried on, and we have that memory of like, oh, that's a good scene. But just in that standalone movie, we don't have that. The good thing about my scene is between Adrian and Rocky is that we've had all that built up stuff. So when you, it's even better, because when you have 2 movies building up and you're finally exploding, it really showcases how people bottle stuff up, and it really showcases the real life, you know, situations. If you really think of just what the 80s was as a whole, you just think of toxic masculinity. You just think of all that stuff. Look at his other character. That's why everyone loves his character of Rambo, just because it showcases the other side of just the mental. And that's what Rocky really brings this in this scene. It really showcased that the reason he lost to Clubber Lang is because he's afraid to lose. He's afraid to not be anybody. He's not afraid that he's going back to be a bum. But with Adrian, finally gives him a chance to get that out of him. And without Adrian, he wouldn't even be able to express himself, because she is the anchor of what Rocky is at his core.
My scene literally is what Rocky is all about. It's about the struggles of life, and anybody can relate to the situation that he's in, even if you just had a menial job, that you never feel like you've fulfilled your own potential. If you used to be an athlete, but you weren't able to fulfill your potential, whatever your case is, you can relate to Rocky and his frustrations that literally he's been bottling up for 10 years. And you know Rocky through the scene. It tells you everything you need to know about his struggle, his pain, his survival. It epitomizes Rocky as a whole. Your scene doesn't have a whole lot of emotional weight to it. There's not really any deep layers to it. As far as it's just kind of a wife and husband arguing and just talking about things.
It is not just a regular husband and wife arguing about things. It is literally Rocky and Adrian. That is the point of what I'm trying to make. It's literally built up these characters that Adrian started off as a very shy person, and in a coma in the second one to a very strong female figure. And then Rocky is showcased that he's just not toxic masculinity that he's showcased, and he could possibly have showcased based on his era. The one with Mickey, it's literally not even the best scene that you've got between those two characters, let alone within this movie. It just doesn't really have that weight because we didn't have anything built up for Mickey beforehand. Rocky really showcases it's literally the he's not yelling Mickey at the end of his fight. He's yelling for Adrian, and that when that really accumulates by the time we get to Rocky 3, and that's why we need Adrian at his side.
I have Pez 40, Henry 60.
Okay, Brian.
Wow, a lot of notes on there. 53-47 Henry.
Okay, and Ryan.
I have 60-40 for Pez.
All right, looks like we're gonna do some math real quick.
Alrighty. And the first round comes to a conclusion with a score of Henry 153, Austin 147.
All right, so I'm going to get the first point. You guys can do a quick little talk. What are your guys' general thoughts on how that round went, Tato?
Very close round. All of us had it within 10 to 20 points. Again, how percentages work and whatnot. So, yep, I think could have gone either way, and it did go one way, and it did not go the other way.
Okay, Brian, any specific thoughts on how that round went?
Nothing specific, really. I mean, I'm not, I don't know the Rockies real well, so I'm going purely by the arguments. I can't bring my own, weight to it. So yeah, it was very close for me as well.
Yeah. And Ryan.
Well, also removing my own personal a view of these movies, I was paying attention to your guys' opening statement, and from what and Austin throughout every time he talked, he was staying true. He was always keeping on point with what he was saying because it's a focus on that relationship. And while you, Henry, you did bring up great points regarding Adrian and Rocky about how it worked for the characters. You did. I think one thing that kind of brought you down a little bit was that you didn't emphasize too much on the relationship early in Rocky 1 that helped build that moment. You did bring it back, but it was just kind of like you would reference it, but I didn't hear enough specifics on it to make that part of that speech to hit more.
Fair enough. All right, so with that said, I'm going to drop the judges back, and Tato, you can announce question number 2.
Alrighty, your next question on the dock. Who has the best fight entrance in any of the films?
All right, so in the Rocky franchise, we have a various different types of entrances, and it's one of those things that honestly, very underwhelming if we're really going to be honest. So I went with Pretty Ricky Conlon in Creed because it really just showcases just the swagger and just the vibe that he provides in that movie, because it's one of those things that if you think of just that character, he's very outspoken, he's very, grit, and it really showcases just the tone that he's going to set and how it differentiates himself from Adonis, as well as just anything that we've seen up that point in the Rocky franchise.
So when anybody thinks about entrances in the Rocky franchise, you immediately think of Apollo's entrance in Rocky 4. It's literally a symbol of American excessiveness. It's Apollo coming down on a big lowering platform, basically from the ceiling, basically a human American flag. He's got a big top hat and over the top outfit. You literally have James Brown, one of the singing legends, doing Living in America. You got Fire Breathing Dragons. You got Showgirls. It's Vegas Excess, and it's everything about America versus Russia and during the Cold War wrapped up into an entrance.
Yeah, but the difference between the Apollo entrance and the Pretty Ricky entrance is you could just tell how dated it is, both from a thematic standpoint, but also just with the music and all that stuff. You really have to be in the now. A lot of people don't even hold Rocky 4 to a high regard because of just how dated it is. The thing with Pretty Ricky Conlon's entrance is both it's badass and it's got swagger, but also showcases the real life, boxing, what you would see in an entrance with the records, with his name, with the different lighting, and it just showcases just what we work with now. Because when a lot of people look at 100 years ago, they're like, oh, that's what entrance looked like. When they look at yours 100 years from now, or even 5 years years after that point, it's like, yeah, that's cool for that movie, but like it's not really a boxing entrance.
Pretty Ricky's entrance in Creed is literally the standard modern entrance that every boxer in America comes out to nowadays. It's the same entrance you see on every Showtime or HBO fight night, where it's generic hip hop music, a bunch of fog, and some guy doing something silly standing in front of him. And even the way it's shot, it's literally just slow motion for about 30 seconds of Ricky just walking out as to slow motion. It's the most cliche thing you've ever seen, as opposed to mine. It's memorable, and people are still talking about it literally almost 40 years later in this movie, because James Brown will never go out of style ever. He's proven that he's, a legend. And Apollo, it completely matches his character and his over-the-top nature, and how he doesn't take things that seriously. He's all about the showmanship and the entertainment.
Yeah, I like how you're trying to use that against me, that it's in every boxing match that we've ever seen, but it's the first time we've ever seen that in film. It really showcases just why that's what makes this Creed movie itself stand out amongst the franchise and all boxing movies, is the fact that it feels grounded, it feels real, and it feels badass. And the Pretty Ricky Conlan entrance shows that. What you get with the Apollo entrance, it just doesn't really hit, because guess what? A lot of people don't even have feel the weight of the Apollo death in Rocky IV, because of all the jokiness and the comic relief and the cartoonish nature of what we got beforehand. It's not until the director's cut that it feels a little better, surrounding the movie, but that exact scene itself, it really takes away the weight of his death.
No, the great thing about it, though, is he knows he's going to go out. There's a fear in that he knows that this is his last stand, because he thinks that this might be literally the last time he's in the spotlight, or it could be the last time he's ever in a boxing ring. And we also see the other side with Drago. Again, looking at the Exodus, this is the first time he's ever seen anything like this in his life. He's had this sheltered life where he's become this puppet for the Russian government. And the fact that he is completely confused and bewildered by this whole thing and doesn't know what to do, and he doesn't even really get an entrance. It's all about Apollo. It's all about the show. And it also goes into the fight, Drago putting a beating on him, basically as revenge for belittling him in the ring.
Yeah, but once again, the Pretty Ricky Conlan entrance, it really showcases the swagger and just the vibe of what Pretty Ricky Conlan, showcased in that film. Because at that point, we didn't really get much build up and much characterization for him. This is the first time he's really able to showcase himself, both as a personality, but also as a serious boxer. Because once again, you see the stats and you see everything that you've never got in a Rocky film before that, because it doesn't really have that realistic boxing tone that we get in this. And yours is just cartoonish.
It's
and
funny
it doesn't
you say
really
that,
hit.
but literally the one before that, Rocky Balboa, did the actual HBO style. Mason Dixon had a very, very similar entrance. So.
All right, we'll go to me for my 1 minute. So to hit on your Mason Dixon one, that's one of the ones where it showcases it was really trying to, go different with it, but the tone wasn't there. You could tell it was like a video game cut. It didn't feel like a real life boxing thing. This is the first time that it felt like you were at a match. That's why a lot of people like Warrior and Creed from the 2010s that showcased like these types of movies can be there. And Creed really showcased that. It hammers it home. And that's why another reason why that's the best one within the entire franchise, from the Creed movies. And then Rocky, that's always debatable. Everything with Apollo Creed, it takes away from what you get from the tone of that movie. That movie's tone is already all over the place. And it's really, the overly, jokingness, the vibe. The fact when you get that director's cut, it really showcases how scary it is and how serious it is. But when you get in that theatrical cut from this, it doesn't have that at all.
Apollo's entrance matches the time it was shot. It's this Reagan era jingoistic nationalism that is epitomized in Apollo Creed, as the symbol of America. And it also falls right back in line, going back to Rocky I and his entrance, being all patriotic, not taking the fight with Rocky seriously, not taking the threat that's on the table. And it circles right back around as a perfect button on his entire character arc, that it circles back around to what he did in the first film. And your thing, you can't just dismiss the Mason Dixon thing. You said we'd never seen this in film before, but literally the movie right before that, Rocky Balboa, shoots it in that HBO kind of Showtime style. And except for this one in Creed, it's nothing you see. If you're in a live crowd, you're not seeing a slow motion thing with a bunch of fog and just a guy just kind of swaggering out. It's not that much character development. It's a scary guy coming out looking all stern on his face. And we also don't get a lot of Creed's reaction shots to what he's saying, as opposed to mine, where we get Drago's reaction shots to what's going on, which makes it wholly unique in seeing his confusion and his building anger as to what's going on.
The difference between these two entrances, one of yours stands the test of time, and one of mine is yours is going to be feel dated. The one with mine, yes, we can bring in the Rocky Balboa one, but it's like doing a redo of it, and it's literally the best. Yes, I might have said it didn't have it, but it's so not memorable that you don't even realize it. When you look at the crowd shots and everything, it has the vibe, it has the tone of being in a boxing match. We don't care about Adonis's reaction because it's not about him. It's about the entrance. It's not about the fight as a whole. The difference between yours is, it's more about the flash in the show, but it doesn't hold up because it doesn't have the actual weight of the fight.
Mine stands the test of time because it's literally a symbol of historically what was going on at the time. America versus Russia, the Cold War, American excessive nature, the excessive versus the minimalism of Russia and what they were fighting with sort of American propaganda versus Russian propaganda. And it has a deeper meaning to the whole thing, as well as a deeper meaning about it being possibly Apollo's last ride and what eventually happens in the thing. So yeah, it starts out as over the top, taking things to 11, but it gets very serious very quickly. And that's the point of it, is taking you on that emotional ride from the very high highs to the very low lows.
All right, and time. All right, we are going to start with Brian. We'll go Brian, Ryan, and Tato. You guys collaborate. Give me a thumbs up when you guys are good. All right, Brian, what is your scorecard?
I got 70-30 Pez.
Okay, Ryan?
Oh, wow. My opinion's going to be completely different. It's 53-47 Pez.
Okay. And Tato?
40-60 Pez.
So who has 40-60? Just say always say the higher number first.
I had 60, Henry had 40.
Okay. I figured. I just make sure.
Yeah.
All right. Unanimous decision. Don't have to do any math on that one. We all knew Pez won that one. That's no shame.
It's okay. You might win this one by a lot. This is the one I have prep least for next. So we'll see. The one I'm least familiar with.
Let's just a little behind the scenes. Just the way that War Room is different than other debates is we draft style answers, and obviously this was Pez's number one pick, so it definitely hit home on that one. But it showed.
Henry stole my pick. What the stuff I was thinking about when I thought it, or when we had the question, or when Henry proposed it and he got the answer first. Yeah,
exactly.
So it's okay.
All right. We're gonna go in, take the judges out, and Tato, hit us with question number 3.
Alrighty, that third question that we are talking about is, who would you cast as Amara in Creed 4? Assuming story-wise she starts boxing, age is up to you, general plot concept up to you.
So I went with somebody who's a relatively unknown at this point, but is about to get much, much bigger, and that is Halle Bailey, who's about to star in The Little Mermaid, coming up as of right now. But who is no familiar. She's not an unfamiliar actor. She's been on Grownish for quite some time, and she's an up and coming actor, and it goes just like the rest of the Rocky series in casting sort of relatively unknown people who have a little bit of experience, but not too much, but making stars.
I'm going with Storm Reed. She is just an actress right now that is just killing the game in terms of just her performance in Euphoria, in her one episode in The Last of Us, and her leading role in a movie, and Missing, her side performance in The Invisible Man. Storm Reed just showcases that she just has the chops to not only lead a film but be part of a franchise, and to kind of go in the middle and just kind of just be act as if she'd been the entire time. She just has that power. She has a stature. I'm not trying to say she's big or bulky, not like that, but she definitely looks like she could be a fighter.
So I went with Halle Bailey because not only does she have the look, she looks like just sort of a mix of Tessa Thompson and Michael B. Jordan. But, if they decide to go a certain route where maybe she does get the deafness kind of subsides a little bit, maybe she gets cochlear implants and something like that, and she decides to not only take up boxing, but maybe do a side sort of singing gig, much like her mom, Tessa Thompson. She's got the singing chops, and she's got the physicality chops.
Yeah, but honestly, that's one of those things that would kind of neglect everything that we built up in the Creed 2 and Creed 3 of her being deaf. I guess it would be nice sentimentally, but it doesn't really match the story vibe. It's kind of like you're pulling X-Men. You're like, it just doesn't really match what you're doing before. You're just kind of rewriting the storylines, the timelines. But Storm Reed, she showcases, like I said, physically, she can handle her own. She's taller, she's bigger, but she also showed that she could be a daughter. She was in the Suicide Squad in just a few scenes, getting yelled at by Idris Elba. And like I said, she was a leading lady in Missing, and she's part of a family in Euphoria, and then in the friendship thing with The Last of Us. She showcased her range and her ability, that she could fight, and that she could honestly go toe to toe with Michael B. Jordan acting wise, and I would be excited for that.
Well, yeah, and Halle Bailey, her work on Grownish, she's shown that she's got comedic chops. She can be a little sarcastic. She can have a little sass to her. She can do that kind of dry humor that Michael B. Jordan kind of has with Tessa Thompson a lot, and so she could kind of mimic that. And if you decide to go, that's why I'm saying if they decide to go one way, they decide to go the other way, and she doesn't talk that much, and she is deaf, there's going to be obviously an extended sequence in Little Mermaid, if we're going by the old movie, where she doesn't have a voice for a good chunk of the movie, and she's not talking, she's doing a lot of physical acting, and she doesn't have to speak. So I'm not saying she has to use her voice, but if she did, it would certainly be helpful.
Yeah, but the thing is, with the Halle Bailey, and I don't want to use this. I'm just going to say it one time, just because I don't want to overdo it, because it's obviously accepted. But she just hasn't proven that she's able to really stand up and just have that physicality, the acting chops, and all that stuff. Storm Reid has proven in multiple movies and films that her facial abilities to emote emotions, whether it's crying, whether it's fear, she's done all that in Euphoria and The Last of Us, and like I said, in Missing, and even a few scenes in The Suicide Squad and The Invisible Man. She showcased all range of emotions and all that stuff. Not just her, talking acting abilities, but also just her facial emotions.
But again, the Rocky franchise allows for people to break out and do that. Michael B. Jordan at the time of Creed was not a very well-known actor. He'd really only done stuff like Chronicle, or his biggest sort of acting chop thing was Fruitvale Station, but it wasn't a big movie. And
I'm going to say this with love. He was in Friday Night Lights, the TV show, and The Wire. So acting ability wise, I can't give you that.
My point is that he was given a chance to prove that he could carry a big major franchise and carry a much larger film than anything he had done before. So yes, much like my actress Halle Bailey, who's done TV work and things like, and very small, she's now getting into a bigger movie like The Little Mermaid, where she's getting a chance to be a star and a complete unknown, and trusting her with that.
I would love your choice if it wasn't the boxing route. The fact you're going the boxing route, I just don't feel like she would have the chops just to have the boxing abilities, and Storm Reid hands down would be able to do that. The one thing about Michael B. Jordan, which kind of what you touched on, the fact that he was able to have the ability to showcase his, ability to handle a franchise, is the fact that he was able to physically be there and also look the part. And Storm Reid is going to be able to do that easily. If you look at in The Last of Us, which TV, not movies, but it's not the point because War Room doesn't matter. But anyway, it just showcased the difference between her and Bella Ramsey, just stature wise. She kind of overpowers, and it looks whatever. It's kind of weird the fact that they kind of have a romance, spoiler, but it's the fact that she looks way bigger than her. It doesn't really match that. Storm Reid could easily physically showcase the fact that she could do the boxing. Honestly, when I think of Storm Reid in this role, I think of what the Halle Berry, not Halle Bailey, but Halle Berry, that Bruised movie, where I really feel like she would be able to handle that and put the braids in hair and just really get in the boxing. I really feel like she would be a badass and she would just be able to crush it. And unfortunately, yours, I don't know.
Well, cool. I'll give her a chance to prove that, and when she's casted in Creed 4 or whatever, Storm Reid goes down after one invisible punch in The Invisible Man, so she can't take a punch; she get knocked out immediately. So your physicality, she cries like a little girl after she gets it's once. So, and also I feel like Storm Reid, and the things I've seen, she has kind of two emotions. She's got either the "gee golly, I'm so happy to be here," or she's kind of insufferable and mean and has a resting bitch face. And it's like it's not the vibe that Tessa Thompson and Michael B. Jordan kind of put off in that movie. And so you need somebody that has a little more of a gleeful attitude, like the girl that played her in Creed 3 kind of did. She's very joyous and jovial, and it would transfer into somebody like Halle Bailey who could act that, but also give it a chance to prove how tough she is throughout a movie, and give it a chance to go through like a good training sequence, or really kind of toughen her up. And the whole thing is taking a pretty face, somebody who looks good, and putting her through the ringer and giving her a chance to prove herself.
If by any chance in Creed 4, if she's fighting an invisible boxer, then yes, your point would subside. But anybody, even Michael B. Jordan as Adonis himself, the world champ, the best pound for pound boxer, if he's fighting an invisible man, he's probably going to lose as well. Once again, one with your movie, yes, you could say. By the way, I want to say the gleeful stuff, not just gleeful, it's badass. And the whole point of emoting with the face and the resting bitch face, that's even better for a boxer, because I feel like in yours, it really transitioned to the fact she wanted to be a boxer. She went from the gleeful kid and wanting to do tea parties to starting to punch and box and all that stuff behind the scenes from her mom. Storm Reid would be able to handle that, be a badass, and lead the new franchise.
But again, what we've seen in Creed 4 is that she, even when she's in the boxing sequences, kind of doing the sparring a little bit with her dad, she's got that look in her eye like she's having fun doing it. And like the scene, in the school where she like punches the bully, kind of comes out of nowhere. We don't get a lot of that. So I really like to have the two sides that I think Halle Bailey could play with, that sort of physicality, that she could bring that fun, happy nature that could be in these movies, because you need to have fun. We have fun watching people like Rocky or Adonis like in these movies, but you also need to have that rough side that she could prove in trying to do one of these types of movies.
All right, and time. And the judges in.
That was better than I thought it would be, honestly.
That's what happens when you're a good debate. When you're good debaters, man. That's what I love. All right, thumbs up. You guys good? Or you need a second?
Give me a moment.
We are going to start with you, Ryan. So whenever you're ready, give us your scorecard.
Ooh. Okay.
Go ahead. You're first.
I went 52-48 Henry.
Okay. Tato
65 to Henry, 35 to Pez.
and Brian.
I got 75-25 Henry.
It's about what I thought it would be because I didn't want to do this question.
Even though you said you actually were providing a lot of good points for him.
I know, but he stole my pick. Like I had Storm Reed in mind when,
When I wrote it, I'm glad I stole your pick.
I
When I
think
wrote it.
vastly underestimate a female actress getting in shape for a movie.
By the way, the correct answer is Thuso Mbito from The Woman King.
Ooh.
I
haven't
don't
seen
know what that is.
That's
I haven't seen it either.
Question the next. What is the most emotional fight of the franchise?
All right, so the most emotional fight in the franchise is the one between Rocky and Tommy Gunn. And the reason that I picked this one is because the whole reason I think Rocky V is a masterpiece and clearly underrated. The dynamic that you get between Rocky and Tommy Gunn, that entire film, is actually everything that we kind of would have wanted to see between Mickey and Rocky, through all these films when before Mickey was an old man. This is the stuff that we essentially would have gotten if Mickey didn't get to Rocky too late, 10 years too late. And the dynamic that we built up between Rocky and Tommy Gunn, it felt like father and son. Unfortunately, he essentially neglected his son because of all the love that he had from Tommy Gunn and then got betrayed.
So I might sound like a broken record here in this thing, but I'm going back to Rocky IV and the final fight between Rocky and Drago at the end of that film. Because of the layers that it has with all the buildup leading up to it, you have Apollo's death, which is lingering around Rocky's brain. You have Adrian expressing her fear for literally Rocky's life going into the fight. You have this unstoppable force and machine and Ivan Drago. We've seen literally what he can do to somebody in the ring, so we're fearful for Rocky as an audience. And he's also one of the first fights where he's not only fighting an opponent, he's fighting the crowd, which has never really happened in a Rocky film.
So once again, I also don't want to sound like a broken record, but unfortunately, everything that we got tonally in Rocky IV just kind of takes away the weight that we got from not only the death of Apollo Creed, but also just the redemption arc that we got from Rocky. All the scenes when Rocky's reminiscing in that film is dealing with the music video style of it, and it doesn't really have the genuine emotion that we got. The one between Rocky and Tommy Gunn, not only is he dealing with the betrayal that he got from Tommy Gunn, but he's also dealing with the effects of the brain damage that's really good to it. So it has the editing of the brain damage that we're seeing, the actual repercussions of the life of a boxer.
I mean, you talk about cheesiness, but like I feel like mine's way less cheesy in the actual fight. I'm talking about the actual fight. Your actual fight has that really silly "Go For It" song throughout the entire thing. Go for it, bam, 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 down to go for it. It really cuts into the emotion you're trying to at least convey to the judges here that fight really doesn't carry, and it's a very rushed fight. If you had about 21 minutes of buildup for the actual betrayal, the Tommy betrayal that he does to Rocky, it's like 15 minutes, and then he jumps right into a street fight with Rocky. If you'd had a little more time to flesh out than building up to a fight, it would have much more of a heft. But since it comes out of nowhere, the audience is kind of catching up to what's happening in the actual movie.
It doesn't come out of nowhere because it's like everything that we've got building up beforehand in the franchise that it showcased. If Mickey wasn't there for Rocky, then Rocky would have essentially done the same thing, because the whole time that he wants to, start to get to his head once he got the fight. And the whole thing with that's the whole beef what they had with Rocky 3 is, I'm winning all these fights, but Mickey is literally holding him back from, their pushovers or whatever, however the exact word of it. And Rocky is literally trying to take his time with Tommy, but Tommy's trying to rush it. So when Duke is getting to his head, it really showcased the fact that just how quick the system can really get you. And that betrayal is a big kick in the nuts. And everything with the Rocky 4 one, like I said, the actual fight itself is one of those things that it just, the build up to that point just didn't have it that it does in Rocky 5.
No, the build up to the Rocky 4 absolutely adds to it. And in the actual fight, you see again Rocky fighting from underneath the entire time. Again, not just fighting an opponent across the ring, but fighting the emotions of the crowd, a very hostile crowd. You see people change their emotions throughout the movie. You see the crowd change their emotions. Drago changes his emotion and finally shows emotion in that fight for the very first time when he expresses that he's fighting for me and not just his country. It's literally America versus Russia, and he's fighting for an entire country. He's fighting for his friend. He's fighting for survival, and he's fighting for Adrian in the front row. And we see her emotions throughout the film, literally thinking her husband could die. I mean, there's a lot of stakes in the actual fight.
And that's what's unfortunate about that fight. It actually ends way too quickly. It's one of the few fights where it just doesn't go quick enough, because doesn't go long enough, because I really feel like you would build up to that. It's one of those things that Creed 3 wasn't eligible at this point. The whole reason that Creed 3's fight is so powerful is because it actually goes the full distance, because you have the time for the past to really build up in that entire fight. The thing with Rocky and Tommy is actually it's a street fight, because it's not meant to be for the people. It's meant to be between them, because it's like this is between me and you. I don't care who's around.
Yeah, but
This
the
is
corny
between
music
you.
and the people chiming in from the side, he took my room. It cuts into the emotion.
Yeah, but the actual fight that we're seeing, you actually feel.
We're time.
Okay.
We started at 51.
Oh, I had 51-15. I kind of guessed.
Yeah,
All
well,
right,
we started at 51. So it's all good.
All right.
So you got your 1 minute.
I'll start now. Yeah. All right. So the emotion that you're going with this film, it's one of those things that if you actually take away, all that side stuff from both of our films, the actual characterization between the two films, it's more powerful in my film between Rocky and Tommy Gunn, the actual relationship between the two. Your film, you don't have that because there's no real moments between Rocky and Drago that they actually have any built up relationship. If you take the death of Apollo Creed out of it, then their actual relationship has nothing to do with it. I'm not saying that you would obviously not take it out of it because that's the whole point of his character. But like I said, the death of Apollo is taken down because of just the corniness and the cheesiness of the build up to that death. You don't even have the weight of that death in it. Everything with Rocky and Tommy Gunn, he literally neglects his child, and he's starting to get affected into his relationship with his wife and his kid because of how he's actually trying to see himself within Tommy Gunn, and it just doesn't have the impact that you want from the character. So the betrayal hurts even more than avenging the death. If you picked anything with Adonis, avenging his father, that would be better.
So you're putting all this emotion that's not actually in your scene, because in the actual scene, you have a little bit of him going, "Oh, me and you were supposed to be like this, Tommy," and then it immediately goes into music video nonsense. Like, it doesn't have an emotional score like Rocky IV does with the Vince DiCola score that matches the exhaustion of the fight, that matches the emotion of the fight. My fight is actually extended. It's about 10 minutes long. Yours is over pretty much before it even really begins. You've got the silly comments coming from the side. He stole my room. Duke going, "You lose and you finished." It's all over the top. It's really, really silly, and it cuts into the emotion you're trying to convey that's in the scene, but it's not actually in the scene. And in mine, Bill Duke gets great lines, the no pain, fighting through the emotional pain, the abuse of the pain. And again, you're talking about this relationship, but Rocky and Drago are not supposed to have this relationship. It's just a silent kind of grudge match. It's not supposed to be this thing that was built up over 4 movies or whatever, or a movie or whatever the whole thing. He's fighting for somebody else. He's fighting for his country. He's fighting for outside influences.
And fighting for outside influences takes away from the emotions. If you look at the entire franchise, in the Rocky franchise, Rocky versus Apollo multiple times, Rocky versus Clubber Lang, who beat him and then he's avenged himself, Rocky versus Tommy Gunn that you got in 5, his 8, Rocky versus Time in Balboa, and then everything with Creed. It really showcased the emotion. And this one, you don't have the actual impact of the two fighters. Between Tommy and Rocky, it really has that heart and that emotion because of betrayal. You can take all your effects and all that stuff and out of it, but the actual fight between the two characters is way more emotional than the two characters of yours.
But then again, the emotion does work in mine because Rocky, you see the pace of the film, you see the tiredness of it, that he's fighting for the hardest fight he's ever fought in his life, literally and figuratively, as he's fighting for somebody else, for Rocky, for his country. Drago, again, is also showing that emotion that we've never seen throughout the film, but we're showing it now, and it gives us another layer to care about, to see Drago actually expressing something going against his own country as well. We've again seen the crowd changes as far as the emotions, the layers of emotions in this, through Rocky, through Adrian, through Drago, through Duke, through the crowd, all of it layers up and is great.
And time. Pez, it's like we've done this before.
It's almost like we've done this a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe too much.
All right. We're going to start with Brian whenever. Or is it Tato? Who went first last time? Ryan went first last time.
I went first last time.
It's me. Yep. All right. And I have Pez at 63, Henry at 37.
Brian.
I got Henry 53, Pez 47.
All right. And Ryan.
57-43 Henry.
Oof, okay.
Whoa, we got to do some math on that one.
153, 147. Hey, that happened before. What a coincidence.
Oh, wow. It's almost like we've done this a lot, Henry.
Exactly. All right. Brian, can you go a couple extra minutes or hard out it, just so we know?
I got 10 minutes
It's
for
the
you.
main event. We're just the last question. So
Yeah, I got 10 minutes for you.
All righty. And your main event question. What current pro wrestler would you cast as Thunder Lips today? Once again, good luck. It's been a great fight so far, gentlemen.
All right. All right. So when you think of Rocky III, you think of Hulk Hogan's performance in as Thunderlips, but not necessarily just his performance. Obviously, Hulk Hogan is iconic just throughout the years, but Hulk Hogan's stature, like literally he's announced as 7 foot, 390 pounds. So it's one of those things that whether it's true or not, it's not the point. Thunderlips is 7 foot, 390 pounds, and he eats about 202 pounds. But anyway, so I went with Omos because he's just the tallest wrestler within the WWE, and it just showcases that the stature, especially if it's Adonis that we're having it, he's small.
Okay. So for this question, I thought more about size. It's almost about character and kind of this over-the-top persona and this sort of a god amongst men. And a guy that has done that for literally 20 years is Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar has shown that he could be a big giant star and a threat in not only wrestling but in MMA as well. And then he has made that crossover into television shows and things and all kinds of appearances. So it's literally a system of, you know, he can cut the promos, he can look the part, he can act the part, and he can be intimidating amongst anybody else.
I'll start at 05.
Okay.
But once again, if you're looking at just the two, it's not necessarily just about the look. It's also, I mean, it's not just about the personality, it's about the look. And it showcases that, you know, I know that you're going to knock Omos because he's not one of the most popular wrestlers in all of WWE history, let alone currently. But it's one of those things that he's been wrestling for a long time, for almost 4 years now to this point. So it showcases that he has the longevity that enough. He's newer, so he doesn't have the whatever, but that at the time, if you think of Rocky 3, you want the now guy, and at the time Hulk Hogan was the now, so Omos is the now. Brock Lesnar is the was.
No, Brock Lesnar literally just main evented the pay-per-view a few nights ago as of this recording.
Yeah, but I'm talking about.
So your argument is completely moot because he's still main eventing pay-per-views 20 years after he first debuted and still has that presence.
He's main eventing based on the name, because if you look at WWE, they're literally so, tired and they're so desperate to have what did Edge just fight, and he hasn't done anything in years, or he's old and he doesn't do good. That's their desperation. Omos showcased that he has a stature. He's 7'3", 403 pounds. If you literally, that's bigger, quote unquote, bigger than what Hulk Hogan was, Thunderlips character was, let alone Hulk Hogan. Omos showcased that he would.
That didn't matter because Stallone was like 5'5". Like you could have put anybody in there that's over 6 feet tall and muscular, and he would look big. And again, Hulk Hogan wasn't really a star at the time. He was more of a presence. It was the swagger. It was the way he carried himself. It was the character. Omos doesn't have any character. He's a big lunkhead. He's a big 7-foot lunkhead that can't speak, which is why he has a manager by the name of MVP who has to do all of his talking for him. Thunderlips did all the talking himself. They lowered down the microphone and he talked, and he could rapture a crowd, and he had a character, and he made fun of the guy himself. If you have a character that can't talk, that's part of the thing, is him talking smack the entire time. I'm going to be up the meatball, here we go, let's, I'm going to break your back. Like, it's him talking shit the whole time, which is what Brock Lesnar can bring to the table.
So I want to start off by saying that Stallone is 5'10". He's not 5'5", so that argument, yes, I know there's a stretch, but I need to mention that. And then when you're thinking of the Omos thing, guess what? Earlier you did a debate of Halle Bailey of being Namara, but guess what? Acting coaches exist for a reason. He can be prepped up. He's not meant to be an actor. He's meant to be a wrestler, but now he can be shown. It's one of those things that I would rather have someone who has the stature that can be taught the acting than someone that just is a regular guy. You can literally just insert any bodybuilder or any random wrestler looks-wise that would just be what
it's
Brock
not about
Lesnar
inserting anybody. Brock Lesnar has proven that he could talk himself. He brings the personality. He's also changed his character over the years, so he can adapt to anything that the movie might throw at him. He's got cowboy, I don't give a shit Brock. He's got machine kind of wrestler Brock. He's got this extreme sort of pseudo MMA Suplex City Brock. Like he's changed his character over the years, so he can adapt to whatever the movie would actually need. He can do based on what he's given.
But the other thing with Brock Lesnar is when you see Brock Lesnar in this Creed movie as Thunderlips, you're not going to see Thunderlips, quote unquote, whatever the character name. You're going to see Brock Lesnar. With Omos, he's not as known and not as proven, but he has the stature, so you're going to see the character that they write for the film. And like I said, with acting, he can have that ability. Like I said, okay. I honestly didn't have
105.05.
Yeah, I didn't write it down, so I was kind of guessing. All right.
It goes by quick, doesn't it? Goddamn.
Yeah. Especially when I didn't write it down. I didn't know what it was. All right, I'll start pointing.
It's all good. Whenever you're ready.
All right, so with Omos, like I said, I would rather have someone who has the stature and the look at 7'3", 409 pounds, who can be taught how to act, than someone who's just a average height and just a big muscular person that just looks like anyone else that's just going to be filled in, who could be replaced. Omos is one of those people that he has enough personality and he has enough ability within wrestling and just with showmanship to exist in the WWE for going on 4 years now at this point for a reason. He doesn't have the longevity of Brock Lesnar in terms of history, but that doesn't matter because we're looking at what's the now. Like I said with the Hulk Hogan thing, when you look at Rocky 3, Hulk Hogan was the up and coming, he was the now, and Omos is the now. Brock Lesnar, sure, he could main event, but so many wrestlers that were, you know, popular in the early 2000s are main eventing. That has nothing to do with who they are now. That just shows the desperation of the WWE. So Omos is showing that he could show that he could be the Thunderlips, because you're not going to see Brock Lesnar. You're going to see you're not going to see Thunderlips. You're Brock Lesnar. You're going to not see Omos. You're going to see Thunderlips.
I'll go on to 30. Okay, so the reason why you could cast Hulk Hogan back in 1982 for Rocky 3 is it didn't matter as much. Wrestling wasn't as popular. It was kind of a little more niche. Wrestling is completely mainstream now. People know who people are. People know who John Cena is. People know who The Rock is. People know who Stone Cold Steve Austin is. People know who Brock Lesnar is. And not only just wrestling fans, again, MMA fans know, because it was run in UFC where he became a champion. So he could bring a whole new level of physicality to the role that Omos can't bring. Again, being a lunkhead, being a bad wrestler who is very clunky in the way he moves, in the way he acts, and again, no personality skills, no character. You need a character. Thunderlips had character as well as the big muscle moves, and he wasn't just a jacked up bodybuilder. He had a lot of presence and character to him. Brock Lesnar can bring that swagger. He brings the fear. When they hit his music to this day, there's a sense of fear. There's a sense that somebody's going to get their ass kicked. He can bring a whole new sense of wrestling, not just him doing standard wrestling moves, but doing submissions, doing beating the shit out of somebody like a ground and pound thing. He can bring a whole new aspect to it, and people know who he is. They know he's unstoppable. They know he's a literal beast.
35.
Mm-hmm.
You essentially proved my point by when you referenced a bunch of wrestlers, you referenced a bunch of people from the late 90s and early 2000s in terms of the mainstream, quote unquote. Yeah, all from the 2000s. When you're looking at the now, you didn't name any of the, like Roman Reigns or any of those people that are popular within the niche fandom of wrestling, but you just named the stars, and a lot of those are quote unquote actors. So when you look at Omos, he's one of those things. He's the 7'3", 400 pounds, and he showcased. When you actually look at Thunderlips in Rocky 3, he's doing leg bombs. He's literally picking up Rocky straight up. He is lunky because that's the point of it. He's huge. He's a mountain of a man. You know, everything that you're going to get with Brock Lesnar, he could just be filled in with any other wrestler of that stature.
The reason why you don't cast Omos because he is a nobody. He literally is only known within the people who watch a niche thing of wrestling. You need a personality that's bigger than life, bigger than the actual wrestling world, which is what Hulk Hogan became out of that movie, was bigger than life and bigger than the wrestling world. And somebody who already has that built-in personality, who can walk right into it and have a character and have that sense of presence and have that fear and really convey that size presence. He's not the tallest guy in the world, but that doesn't matter nowadays. It's who's the most physical, who brings the most to the table, and who brings the most being a beast and being an actual monster in the ring.
All right, and time. All right, Ryan just stepped away just now, so he'll be back in a second. He's back. Tally up your votes first.
First of all, what the fuck kind of choices were those? Come
no
on.
opinions, no outside opinions on the debate, but
I already got my score down. What? Come on.
All right. Everyone thumbs up. Got their scores.
I like my choice, but Henry did a lot of research, and that's what he came up with.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, starting with you.
I got Pez 62.4, Henry 37.6.
All right, 63, 37.
That's not what I said.
Ryan?
I rounded mine up. It's 62-38 Pez.
Oh. And Tato, 100 Henry?
63 Pez, 37 Henry.
Son of a bitch.
I'm sorry, dude.
That was a
First
damn
of all,
consensus judging. I'll give you that, dude.
And your winner by decision, Austin Pezhow.
Via split decision, just like a Rocky movie.
By
Via
split decision.
Yeah.
All right, Brian has to head out. Ryan and Tato, thank you very much. If you guys want to say anything afterwards, we'll come back to you. But if not, we're going to do post talks between Henry and Pez right now.
Later, babe.
There, guys. Good one.
All right, Pez, how do you feel about that?
Oh man, that was fun though, man. It was a good time because no matter who came on top, we're both talking about a franchise that we love, and it hurts to obviously nitpick scenes that we love because I love the street fight in Rocky 5. It's a lot of fun, and that beach scene is great, and I agree with you. Rocky 3 is hell underrated. It might be one of my favorite Rocky movies. You know what I mean? I dig that the whole thing, and it hurts to have you try to knock down the stair scene in Rocky because that scene's amazing, and that scene's amazing.
It stinks.
Yeah, it stinks. You want to come up to my place and look at my shit? and it stinks. Like it's just such a guttural reaction. I love it. Like, and even just rewatching it, I was getting emotional. So yeah, no, it's a thing where we're talking about somebody we love. We're just having a good time, and we don't have like a big league here. You know what I mean? We want to put out a show where we're just getting really into like a franchise or something, or really into a topic. You know what I mean? Like they're really like, you got to have the people who know this, who know what they're talking about as far as this minutia.
Yep. And that's the point of the War Room. It's literally, like I said, it's just like Full Metal Random Buffer debate. It's literally a bunch of people that, you want the prep to be there in terms of just quality of debate.
Well, yeah, I mean, to give you like, I took a couple of bullet points, but it's nowhere near what I take for Battleground. You know what I mean? Yeah. Battleground, this page would be full top to bottom. You know what I mean? Of not like, it's just a few like little points I wanted to hit. Like I don't take it like as seriously. Obviously, you don't need. It's more just like kind of seeing where the argument goes. As we kind of talk.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate that I had JPO, who's going to be the initial host that did the main event as a wrestling question, and I'm going. Regardless of the answers, you were going to have the advantage anyway. So.
Right, because I'm a wrestling fan, and you're not really a wrestling fan. No, I get, and I remember when you actually picked the answer, you're like, I don't know, Omos is a big guy, and I was just like, oh, bro, you have no idea what you got yourself into with that answer, because he's a big lunkhead who doesn't even talk. Like it's
initially when there was 4 debaters, I'm like, I can sneak in my Omos of just
you can sneak it in, and I get
that
there's other answers. I just whatever. So, again, that's fun. And I liked all her stuff. This talking about the entrances was good. I had forgotten what Pretty Ricky's was, so that was fun going back and watching that. And just little things. So yeah, it's us getting into the little details of Rocky, and because we could talk. We've talked Rocky before, just the franchise. I mean, we ranked it. So I mean, it's we both love this franchise and just love yapping about it. And Tato does too. I know he probably had fun just listening to it.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's one of those things that I'm here to bring the love of fandom in terms of specific genres, franchises, whatever. I know Tato's going to do some video games, some NFL stuff. Like it's not just movies with the war zone. That's why it's not called Movie War. That's why it's not called Movie War Room. It's called just War Room, because it's like, let's debate. War Room debates. It's about anything. So yeah. So with that said, if you guys made this far in the video, I appreciate it. The editing is going to be interesting on this one, just because it was the first time doing the 1v1 format. Didn't have the timer in the bottom, and also we were on a little bit of a time crunch because Brian needed to do a hard out. But Tato, what are your final thoughts on how this went?
Overwhelmingly, this was awesome. Definitely rejuiced me up for my upcoming one with Antonio. And I don't know if it's in your plans, but are we doing like are the winners going to play each other in a third Rocky match? I think that should be a thing.
We could get the losers to actually write all the questions, maybe, or at least something like that.
I'd be down for that too.
Yeah.
And why not a bronze match?
Yeah, the 2 winners don't even have a say in like what the questions are. It's like we just get whatever question, because if we're the
tournament of champions for
if we won the Rocky thing, we should be able to debate anything about Rocky, right? So yeah, bring on the thing. So yeah, and there's still plenty of things to mine in that franchise for sure.
Absolutely, and that's another reason why I was cool doing the 1v1, because you could do genres, actors, franchises, multiple various ways, and that's another reason why I want to have write the questions, because not just best, worst, overrated, underrated. There's definitely layers, and
Well, that's why I said not just what's your favorite fight, what's the most emotional. Let's get into the emotional aspect of it. Let's get into the background. Let's talk about a very specific thing. Let's get into the details of entrances. Let's get into the details of dialogue.
We love this franchise. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Let's get deep. If it's a strength.
And also, even with these questions, we could literally do it was best, but what is the best monologue / dialogue? You can literally do 2 different ones, the same exact questions, 2 exactly different ones, and not feel like one was the only right answer.
Right. Well, if they do the same question, you know what I mean? Like picking different, you can pick different answers. There's 50 other scenes you could pick from the Rocky franchise.
I've seen nothing. None of these questions have come close to having a correct answer, which is a beautiful thing.
Yes,
exactly. Maybe on paper the Rocky 4 one, just because of it's.
I could have gone with Apollo's Rocky 1 entrance, just because it shows his lackadaisical nature and like not taking.
Names as you got.
I actually like Felix's from Creed 3 quite a bit.
That wasn't eligible yet. That wasn't eligible yet.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah,
that would have been my pick, motherfucker.
I mean, Rocky's Rocky coming out to Sinatra is fun, and Rocky Balboa. I mean, like there's not a correct answer. It's a good time. Yeah,
absolutely. So with that said, like I said, if you guys made it this far in the video, I appreciate it. Comment below any of your guys's call outs that you want for the war room, and just how would you have voted, round by round, all those types of things. Make sure you check out everything Pez is doing over Movie Hero Network. Join the Schmodown Friends and Family group that he's on. Make sure you see everything Tato's doing. He's getting a lot better. He's a good dude. My name's Henry Confidential. That is Pez. That is Tato. We are out.